Hi everyone, I'm excited to welcome our guest, Sindhu Gangadharan, for our ongoing series on reimagining disruption and its impact on business and culture during uncertain times. Sindhu is Senior Vice President and Managing Director of SAP Labs in India, responsible for SAP's research and development facilities in Bangalore, Pune, Mumbai, Hyderabad, and Germany. SAP Labs India is the largest R&D center outside SAP's headquarters in Germany and a leading hub for innovation and a hotspot for talent and diversity. As a respected thought leader, Sindhu is a regular speaker at domestic and global conferences. She is a passionate advocate of using technology to benefit customers and the society, workplace diversity and inclusion. Sindhu resides in Bangalore with her husband and two daughters. A very, very warm welcome to you, Sindhu, and thank you for joining us in this dialogue today.
Thank you so much, Puja. Thank you for having me here and giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts on this very important topic.
Great. So my first question to you, Sindhu, with the uncertainty and anxiety about the ongoing times, as a leader, what leadership style or transformative values have you adopted that has helped you to manage this flux?
Yeah, I think, Puja, that's a question that comes up every time. Especially in these times of COVID, that's a question that you cannot evade, right? But I have this. There is this well-known author called, and I'm sure you've read many of his books, Paulo Coelho, who actually has this phrase in one of his books, which I think resonates really well, right? Which goes like this: When we least expect it, life sets up a challenge for us to test our courage and our willingness to change. And at such a moment, there is no point in pretending that nothing has happened or in saying that we are not ready yet. Now, I'm saying this here because, Puja, as whether you're a leader or a follower, I think one thing which is always constant in our lives is uncertainty. So uncertainty is certain, right? And we should be ready for any kind of uncertainties in our life. I don't want to be philosophical, but specific to your question, my style of leadership is one which is all about encouraging collaboration, all about encouraging transparency, all about trust. And at SAP, I think we clearly, and also particularly at SAP in labs in India, we have a very diverse population of more than 9,000 plus employees focused on the R&D side of the house, right? And these are people who need to be empowered to innovate. These are people who need to think without any barriers, because for us, it's so important that they can contribute to SAP's vision of helping the world run better and also helping improve people's life, which is at the core and at the core of everything that we do at SAP. And in a crisis like this, I'm sure you would agree very much with me, communication plays a very critical role. And here, I think one thing which we have clearly adopted in terms of a style of leadership is colleagues definitely need to be informed directly from their leaders and not hear from the grapevine or any other informal sources of information. So, which translates into very clear and very transparent information flow, which helps our employees stay very calm, very prepared in these times. And I think it's a responsibility of each and every leader to portray that stability and to portray that confidence and provide the reassurance that's so much needed and show that everything is in control. And another important aspect in these times, and in all times, to be honest, pandemic or not, is to show empathy. And a crisis can really impact people in so many different ways, right? So a leader has to be empathetic because each person has a very unique situation, unique things that are going on in their lives. And so being very inclusive really can help leaders to connect much more deeply with their colleagues.
Thank you. And the words that you've used reminds me a lot about a lot of women leaders today. If you sort of see the statistics, a lot of leaders who are leading countries who are women leaders. The COVID situation and the way they've managed the pandemic has been a lot with collaboration, trust, empathy, working in a very focused manner. So they also say that women in crisis are actually amazing leaders. So it brings me to my next question. And knowing that you're an active proponent of using technology to help society. We saw that, obviously the pandemic has negatively impacted, and we're experiencing many segments in society. So are you seeing opportunities for businesses to innovate and act in the interest for everyone? Will a focus on society help them stay relevant, especially today, because that's become our ecosystem and our external environment, and has become so much larger part of who we are.
True, true. Pooja, I think one thing is clear, right? Pandemic or not, one thing which is a constant is innovation is a must. That's clear. And I've seen it before the pandemic, during the pandemic. Companies that don't innovate clearly will not survive. That said, the need for innovation is more in these times of distress. There's no doubt about it. And I think a very innovative mindset and also a culture. Clearly, we have seen companies help companies tide over this crisis much more effectively, right? And if you just look at the pace of today's digital transformation, I think it's important that we understand that it's absolutely vital to be on top of it in order to stay relevant, in order to stay competitive, in order to stay ahead in whatever be your core business. And it cannot be that leaders just wake up one day and kind of say, oh, now we need to get innovative, right? This has to be a culture that is really nurtured in teams, like I said earlier on as well. And it cannot be that this is something that happens just because of a pandemic or so. And companies that operate solely with kind of the intent, all about generating profits and not looking at giving back to the society, I believe will clearly have a very short lifespan. Because giving back to the community, be it a corporate or in your own individual capacity, I think is super vital, and particularly in these times, very important and very critical. Now, let me take the example of SAP to illustrate and kind of back up that point. I mentioned earlier as well, SAP's purpose and commitment has always been to help the world run better and also improve people's lives. And we've always done that, of course, together with our employees, together with the technology, as well as our global ecosystem of customers as well as partners. And we're absolutely committed to transform industries, grow economies, as well as lift societies, but at the same time, sustainably running the businesses, right? So sustainably also caring for the environments that we operate out of. And this isn't something that we think about one day in the year where we just stand up and say, okay, that's kind of our focus. But it has always been a constant at SAP, where we believe the social, the economic, as well as the environmental performance are all interrelated, right? They go hand in hand with each other, and they create also tangible impacts on each of those parameters. And this is why, if I just reflect on, we recently concluded our largest digital event called Sapphire, which is our annual event where we talk about some of our latest and greatest innovations. We launched a product called Climate 21. And the idea with Climate 21 is really to help organizations to go beyond just measuring what is their top line and what is the bottom line results, but now including a new dimension of success, what we call as the green line, which is really all about assisting organizations to minimize the greenhouse gas footprint of their products. And if you think about it, this goes a long way in which we run businesses in a very sustainable manner.
Amazing. I think sustainability and being able to build social responsibility through a digital revolution is the only way that we can scale. And kudos to SAP and to your efforts to try and integrate the two elements. You've spoken a lot about culture, and and that sort of brings me to the third question. And you've also spoken about sustainability, that at SAP, how are you sustaining the culture of ideation and innovation with entrepreneurs, those who are known as corporate entrepreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
and externally with the startup ecosystem?
Yeah, sure. Well, at SAP, I think we can be really proud to say that we've made considerable investments to create and build that culture in which innovation, in which learning and entrepreneurship is always encouraged and also rewarded, right? While I think it's important to understand some employees, some people have that very innate ability to become an entrepreneur, but many also need a platform, an environment that will help them facilitate to think and also act like true entrepreneurs, right? So also, if you just look at some of the path-breaking innovation, really stems from having that very healthy ideation process, which is built over the years and building that culture of innovation. And this is also why, Pooja, we clearly encourage our people to come up with disruptive ideas, thinking out of the box, and giving them also a platform to help them do so. And talking about platforms, I'm not talking about technology platforms here, but we're talking about a platform, what we call as Invent, which is our annual innovation platform, or innovation and venture challenge, to be very precise. And Invent is SAP in India's innovation celebration, pretty much, right? And it's our way of fostering that kind of a startup culture within the R&D organization, and really about stimulating the minds of our employees and all those budding innovators that we have, right? Who are not just looking at thinking about the product backlog that they're currently working on, or looking at deliveries to customers or operations and so on. And our goal with Invent has always been to create that kind of a thriving ecosystem where solutions are conceptualized, where solutions are being built, where the minds are being nurtured, most importantly, and giving them, like I said, this platform that allows them to prepare and also guide our employees through those very initial phases of their entrepreneurship crusade, if you want to call it, right? And it's actually a 2-month program, so it's not something that we just go out there for a couple of days and do it. No, it's a long stretch program. And I have to say, despite this drastic change in the way we work, and all of us being virtual, I mean, we are working from home, 100% of us, since the 15th of March. This year with Invent, I have to say the results have been phenomenal. We just concluded it, and we had a resounding response. We had more than 245 teams across the organization, with 750 plus individuals participating. So you're talking about 245 unique ideas that came out of this, right? And what we also did this year differently is we brought in a lot of the mentors from our organization. So we had close to about 160 experts who supported the whole mentoring of these teams through those 8 weeks of the Invent Startup School. So it's really initiatives and platforms like this that build that culture that is so much needed in an organization like ours.
Absolutely. And, with digital and remote working, with your other uh, focus on inclusion, diversity, and looking at the number of diverse ways in which, SAP and your internal environment is giving opportunities for ideation. Do you believe there are greater opportunities for women now to be innovators and lead from the front? And how can women really be encouraged to leverage this digital revolution? Because with work from home, flexibility, and an enabling environment, I think I particularly believe that this is very conducive and set up for women to be a lot more successful. Your comments?
Yeah, no, indeed, Pooja, you're absolutely spot on, right? But I believe that this large-scale adoption of work from home will not just benefit female employees, but also male employees, right? Because we're talking about suddenly the access to reach out into those areas where people would kind of hesitate to move out from their comfort zones, or when I say comfort zones, area from which they operate out of, right? So because it really gives them that opportunity to decouple from a specific location. So in that sense, and certainly you're right, this has been also a huge boon to a lot of the women employees who, say, for multiple reasons, were compelled to take a pause. I mean, maybe due to family compulsions or anything like that, and or who've been trying to balance both their work as well as their family much more effectively. it definitely gives women a lot more options to choose jobs from different locations suddenly. And I think this is a great revelation now, right? Because really not having to uproot their families or even their social circles. And many progressive organizations are now very quickly realizing the importance of diversity and inclusion, and therefore also putting in place very conducive policies, of course, work policies, benefits that are so important, that is really encouraging women to pursue their careers, right? Of course, there's so much still work to be done. There's no doubt about it. And many of the organizations who had the intention to bring women into the workforce, I think now is the time to also invest even more efforts to make that possible. Because if you ask me, women make 40% of the world's workforce, right? And in many areas, it's a male dominated field across all levels. And we have to acknowledge this. And this is also why at SAP we are working on lots of initiatives for girl students, right, from the very basic level of education, and particularly also for those who come from very weaker socioeconomic backgrounds, and giving them access into the corporate world. I just remember the initiative that we launched, the Girls Power Tech Initiative, which is all about inspiring girls from some of the most vulnerable socioeconomic backgrounds to take up careers in STEM. And it's not just giving them the access, but also bringing them into the corporate world as part of the curriculum, to give them that exposure, which is so much needed as well. And at SAP, I'm like I said, we really aim to drive many of these opportunities, particularly also directed at women, particularly increasing their kind of visibility into the STEM related areas. I think girls who code, girls smarts, girls power tech, tech girls. There's so many such initiatives that I can go on and on about, Puja, that we've been driving. Just to also reflect, since 2017 here in India, we launched our flagship initiative called Code Unnati, right? And Code Unnati is all about, and we've reached 1 million children across the nation, across 14 states in India, and really all about imparting that kind of digital curriculum and supporting them in those education needs. We've also collaborated with Tech Mahindra and with Mahindra and Mahindra actually on this initiative called Project Nanhi Kali. This will happen back in November 2019, where we're also looking at how we can help girl students be digitally ready, empower them to bring about those kind of positive changes that we so much need in the communities that we operate out of. And the focus is really on providing those training modules to, like I said, to impart those digital literacy, and in that process drive and foster the workforce propelled by women in the workforce.
Great, Sindhu. I think, really very inspiring to look at how technology is really getting leveraged to drive inclusion, inclusion of thought and ideas, integrating society, integrating women, working with customers. I think, this is a very powerful story, and thank you so much for sharing it. While it's a quick video bite, but I think the kind of examples that you've sort of given has really brought this space. A lot of organizations, as you rightly mentioned, while you do work for profits, you have to also think beyond and look at, and I do believe that we are at this cusp of taking the next paradigm shift, where all of this will not be really good to do, but it will be a must to do.
Yes.
And organizations which are socially relevant, who are integrating and being a lot more inclusive, are
Yeah.
the ones who will really be able to survive the future. Thank you so much, Sindhu, for for your narrative today, and really looking forward to engaging with you further.
Thank you, Pooja, and looking forward to a continued collaboration. I've only heard great stuff of all the work that you've done from Justin, so it's going to be a continued partnership.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sindhu. Thank you.
Take care then,
Look
and stay
forward.
safe.
Yeah, absolutely. You stay safe to you and your family. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Bye.